Hello and welcome to Dish Shelved with Adam White. Just a short video this week on a short book and an update on my World's Finest project. The and I'll do that as soon as I get done with the book. But the book was called Out on a Limb by Luis Paredes. It's under 100 pages. It's kind of a urban fantasy type book. Let me read you what it says about it on the back. Private occult investigators Rebecca Suarez and Peyton Marks solve New York City's strangest paranormal cases, but when a tree in Queens sprouts dozens of human legs, the PIs are stumped by the horrific sight. The dangling gams become the least of their concerns when nearby trees start consuming more victims. Now Rebecca and Peyton must use their powers and NYPD's magical tech to find the maid responsible for this heinous crime and stop a bloody disaster from creeping across the Empire State. Now, there's something really interesting about her partner, Peyton Marks. I'm not going to say what it is, but you find out really early there's something different about her partner, and it's kind of funny, actually. That's the one thing that I'm not sure of on this. Well, let me tell you a little bit. The story is basically what the back of it said. They find these trees have almost like eaten people, and they follow the clues. They use magic. The backstory is that a statue in Greece walked out of a museum like 9 or 10 years before and let out this mist, and it unleashed magic into the world and turned some people into magic users, and created some other things which I won't say what they are because that would give away what the partner is. But the two partners, Rebecca and Peyton, both end up with magical powers, and they start an occult detective firm and consult with the New York Police Department about magical cases. And so when they end up with these magical trees, they call them in to help find out what's going on with it. Now, I can't say much more about the story without giving anything away, so, because like I said, it's only, let's see, it's 73 pages, so it's not that long. It's as long as it needs to be for the story. I thought that it could have been fleshed out and made a little bit longer. I wanted it to be. I enjoyed it. Which brings me to the one thing that I couldn't really decide on, whether this was supposed to be a light story or a dark story, because there's things in it that are definitely light that have just a light tone to them and are humorous and just kind of uplifting kind of stuff. But then there's a real darkness to some of it too, and some bad language and some of that other stuff. But it kind of rode the fence on being either light or dark, and that was my only concern about the story. Was that some of it was really light and some of it was really dark, and I thought it could have been stronger if it had just taken maybe more one than the other, because it was kind of right in the middle. I personally would have liked it to be darker. I mean, the touches in it that were light, I would keep, and definitely keep it as part of the story, because I thought it was a lot of fun. But I think it would have been stronger if it had taken, one way or the other. overall, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It's a very short read. You can read it in one setting with no problem. I just did. And I thought that it was a fun book. It says it's book one, so I assume there'll be more. The way that it ends, some things that happen at the end definitely leave it open for continued stories, and I, for one, am looking forward to them. I will definitely check out more, but I think it said that his work includes a novel, so I may check that out too. Uh, and uh, can't seem to avoid that. No matter how much I really try, I always get the ums back in there. Anyway, really good story. Short. You can knock it out in probably an hour or less of reading. And anyway, I really enjoyed it, and I do recommend it. Out on a Limb by Luis Paredes. Okay, now an update on my World's Finest project. This time I'm talking about Golden Age Batman Volume 2 Omnibus. Again, I've got it on my iPad through Kindle for the first 3 volumes, so I don't have anything to show you for that. But the art I didn't like as well in the second volume as I did in the first volume. And the stories wildly varied. In the first, I've read the first half of it. It's interesting. I mean, a lot of the stories are Batman versus, you know, racketeers and stuff like that, just the same as Superman had been in the second volume so far. And I mean, just common criminals. And those stories were okay. And they had a couple of, you know, stories that would vary. Like they had a Christmas story where he literally was talking to some criminal named Bob Cratchit, and it was kind of like a Christmas Carol. And they had a couple that were almost like they took place in the Old West, and he was on a bucking bronco, and they had stagecoach robberies and stuff. I mean, it was just kind of out of nowhere. One had actually him fighting a Tyrannosaurus Rex and like a saber-toothed tiger and stuff. And I mean, it just was really some random stuff. But the majority of it was common criminals. However, they did introduce the Penguin, and he was pretty much he wasn't the complete gangster that he is nowadays in the comics, but he was more of just a kind of a wacky criminal. But he immediately used his umbrella weapons, and was just had some real fun stories that were about him. However, they had a real problem in the book of fat shaming the Penguin. They'd always call him fatty or fat boy or tub of lard, and stuff that probably wouldn't fly in the comics today, because they were always making fun of his weight. And so that was kind of funny to see that. But I did enjoy the Penguin. There was a lot more of the Joker. They obviously saw that they had a really great character in the Joker, and his stories were always the best. And they they always had a real fun catch to them, and the way he would commit his crimes and leave clues and stuff like that. The Joker stories were a lot of fun. Continuing from the first volume when there was several Joker stories in it. I was hoping to see more of the supervillains, but Batman still has more supervillains than Superman at this point, in the Golden Age. So he's doing better in that sense. One story was like Moby Dick, and Batman actually killed a whale, which to me thinks would have pissed off Aquaman, but I guess not. Maybe Aquaman wasn't even around at that point yet. But I don't think in today's stories you'd probably see Batman kill a whale. People would probably frown on that. But it was almost comical in the way that it played out. But so it was definitely, there were definitely some interesting stories in the first part of the Golden Age Batman Volume 2 omnibus. But that's all I'll say about that. I promise this would be a quick video. It's gone longer than I thought it would, but still recommend the Golden Age Batman stuff. It's fun to see where the character was at that point in time that is so different from what he is today. And I'll probably do some of the current Superman maybe on my next update. I just got a hold of some of the newest stuff from DC on Superman, so I'm planning on reading those. There's only 3 issues out so far, but I might talk about that in one of my upcoming videos because I haven't got a chance to read them yet, but I'd like to do something newer too. In between Golden Age stuff, because a lot of the Golden Age stuff is similar. But anyway, thank you for hanging out with me this week, and I will catch you guys next week.